afternoon, Louisiana, and welcome to another edition of Bayou Bets for Monday, April the 17th in 2023. Zach Ewing with Jim Derry here to take you through the next 30 to 45 minutes or so in the sports and sports betting world. Lots to talk about. The local teams' seasons are over, the Pelicans and the Saints. Or are they, Jim Derry? Maybe we have another local team to talk about, at least that you'd like to talk about.
Coming up in rant. Save it for later. Don't give away the surprise just yet.
That is what we call in the business a teaser.
Yeah.
What we would like to call in the business is a plea is for you to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. If you're on the Bayou Bets YouTube channel, we thank you. Hit the subscribe button, sign up for notifications. If you're not, head on over there. Either during the show or after the show, you can check us out live. Give us a subscribe there, add to our growing numbers, and we would appreciate that.
You go back and watch people painting their faces and getting all kinds of predictions wrong.
All sorts of stuff. Jim will have some wild and crazy takes like soccer is boring and, things like that.
What's soccer?
Yeah. Just wait till the Champions League final. My
Can't wait.
Man City about to eliminate Bayern Munich this week. It'll be great.
You mean
before we lose all
FC Richmond didn't make it?
AFC Richmond? No. Although Wrexham, if you watch Welcome to Wrexham, they're having a good season. Not to spoil next season.
I thought Ted Lasso's team was going to. Sam Adebayo is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's a fun show.
All right,
the headlines that we do have today. The NBA playoffs began this weekend with 8 game ones, and there were upsets all over the place. The Milwaukee Bucks lost. The Phoenix Suns lost. The Memphis Grizzlies lost. We'll talk about which one of those are for real and which ones might last through the whole series. We're going to talk a lot of NFL draft. Bryce Young looks like he is by far and away going to be the number one pick. Also today in the NFL, the Eagles gave Jalen Hurts a huge contract.
What a joke.
A huge contract. So we can talk about that and how that affects the landscape in the NFL. The PGA is on its way to New Orleans for the Zurich Classic starting Thursday. We'll talk a little bit of PGA. And the Stanley Cup playoffs. Who's your pick in the NHL world? I know we don't talk about that down in the Bayou too often, but they do start tonight.
Boston Bruins.
That's probably a good pick. Ted Lasso is better than soccer.
Yes, all right. You are absolutely correct, sir.
Ted Lasso is soccer, okay? Horace is here.
Ted Lasso knows as much about soccer as I do, and it's still a great show. I'm not even talking about Jason Sudeikis. I'm just talking about Ted Lasso.
I agree that it's a great show, but part of the reason it's a great show is because it's a great sport.
No.
Our poll question.
Of course, I wish somebody would bring me a cookie every morning. So
yeah, that would be great. Biscuits with the boss, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you ever move to the same town as me, we'll get that going on.
No, we won't.
Our poll question for you today is:
I forgot to do it. Sorry.
Yeah. The NFL draft. Which position will the Saints draft first? The odds say defensive lineman is the favorite. We'll get to these later, followed by offensive line, followed by wide receiver and tight end. So those are your top choices.
Wait a minute. Is that really what our responses are? I thought there's going to be running back in there too. I promise. So there'll be 5. There'll be offensive, defensive lineman, wide receiver, tight end, running back, or other. I mean, because they need a running back. That's just my opinion. But since I'm doing it, I get to put that in there.
They do need a running back, but they're not taking one with their first pick unless Bijan Robinson drops, which is not.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I mean, we didn't think Anthony Richardson would go in the.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, you asked me 3 months ago. I wouldn't say Anthony Richardson would go in the top 2 rounds, but that's
was before
changing.
He hit the ceiling from his ass on his.
How did he do it? I want to hit the ceiling with my ass. I mean.
No. I don't think you're understanding the physics of this here. Sitting on his ass, he hit the ceiling of the.
Oh, I thought he hit the ceiling with his ass.
That would be really impressive.
I mean, if he could do that, then I could see why he'd be in the top 3 picks.
If he could do that, Cirque du Soleil would draft him with the number 1 pick.
Well, maybe he should go to Cirque du Soleil because he'd probably be better in that than he's going to be in the NFL.
Wow. All right. We'll talk NFL draft and odds at our partner Caesars Sportsbook a little bit later in the show. We're going to start with the NBA. The playoffs continue tonight with a couple of game 2s. the 76ers, and I guess you could throw the Celtics and the Nuggets in here. Those are the three teams that really look the part among the favorites. Just no reason to believe the Nets can challenge the Sixers in that series. The interesting one tonight, Warriors and Kings. Kings going for that 2-0 lead in a series. They were pretty heavy underdogs despite having home court.
Yeah, and they're still getting disrespected as underdogs at home, and they won the other night. There's no way the Kings can win again. No way they can do it again. Go ahead, bet the Warriors. Go ahead, El Rey. Go bet them. Go ahead, go lose your money.
One thing I just don't understand is people are missing the fact that the Warriors were 11-30 on the road this year, and Sacramento is a really tough place to play.
They're also missing they're also missing the Kings do this all the time. That's what they do. That's who they are. I mean, 21 threes isn't who anyone is, I guess, but to say that they can't do it again is ridiculous. That's what they do. They shoot them, and they score. I mean, would you be surprised anytime you watch the Kings and 125, 130 points are scored? No, they're going to give up a ton of points too. It's just what they do.
Mike Brown has even said, like, hey, I don't care if they score on us. We're going to get the ball out of the basket and go score back on them and make them do it again and make them do it again and make them do it again. And it worked.
And they do it. I mean, we'll see. Look, I think that I've been saying that the Kings were underrated. I got them at 75-1, which do I think they're going to win the NBA championship? No. But if they played it 75 times, I think they'd win once or twice. I think that's of course, that's not what they are now. I don't remember what they are. What are they now? 25-1 or 23-1, something like that.
They're higher than that, but let's. We have
we get the odds. We have an odd slide. It's not on here, but
they're further down than that. Let's see.
Well, when I got them, and it wasn't that long ago. I got them at like 6 to 8 weeks ago, and I'm like, I was still trying to figure out why are they 75-1.
They are 28-1 now.
Okay, 28-1. So I mean, that's still absurd in my opinion. I still think there's value because if they get past this round, I think they're in decent shape, especially if the Lakers end up beating the Grizzlies. I still don't think they're going to, but if they do, I mean, the Kings are going to beat the Lakers. That's what I think. So we'll see. I mean, everybody's on the Lakers bandwagon. Their prices are absurd, but I got a little confession to make. I had to give up the NBA for a couple of days. I was very busy this weekend. I had a lot going on, so it was either golf or NBA in the little bit of viewing time I had this weekend, and I chose golf. So I didn't watch a whole bunch of the NBA. I didn't get home till late last night, but when I did get home, the Nuggets were putting it to the T-Wolves, and I turned it on right when they had this little mini fight, I guess, a little scrappage going on between Brown and Anderson. And, that was kind of silly. But at least they were sports about it after and shook hands like after they took the 5-minute break to review it and decided that do you really need a 5-minute break to decide you need a flagrant one there? Okay, let's move on. Anyway.
I think the Nuggets are lucky the Timberwolves coughed up that lead against the Lakers because the Timberwolves look like they're just happy to be there. I mean, that series is going to be.
I don't even know if they're happy to be there. They're a mess. They're a mess. The Nuggets are going to destroy them.
Meanwhile, we look at these Western Conference odds, and to me, at least in this first round, the West is where pretty much all the intrigue is. We'll see what the Heat if they can keep it up against the Bucks.
One team that's even bettable in those four, and that's the Nuggets. You cannot. The Suns looked bad last night with a little bit I saw. It was on where I was. I tried to watch some of it. The Warriors and Lakers are so overrated. It's not even ridiculously kind of funny.
I'll tell you the two teams
go together.
Well, the three teams really are the three right after this in the West, and it's the Kings you mentioned are 9-1 to win the West. The Clippers are 12-1, and the Grizzlies are 13-1. I feel like if you bet those three, you're getting pretty good value.
I agree.
I don't get the obsession with the Suns, and I almost made it my rant today. But like Kevin Durant and the Suns, they played 8 games together during the regular season.
Yeah.
I mean, they sat out the last game, and they could have helped out the Pelicans, and instead they played bench players and lost to the Lakers. And I get it, but now you're surprised that you're losing in the playoffs when you're like, oh, yeah, we'll just throw these stars together who have played 8 games.
Exactly. Ask the Yankees how that worked all those years.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if you get 30 games together and you feel each other out and figure out how it works. It's not – like, it's no surprise to me that the Clippers won that game, and it would not be a surprise to me if the Clippers won that series. In fact, I have a Clippers-Kings series parlay that pays 14-1, Jim, and they're both off to good starts.
Not bad. Good value there.
Here are the odds in the East, and the big change with Giannis injured and the Bucks losing Game 1. The Celtics are now the favorites to come out of the East. Honestly, the East to me is boring because only 3 teams can make it. It'll get interesting in the next round when the Celtics run into the Sixers.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I have trouble watching. I mean, even besides the fact I had Pelicans burn out and I needed a little time off from the NBA, I haven't watched. It's kind of like baseball. I don't watch the American League hardly at all, and the NBA is kind of similar. I don't watch the Eastern Conference hardly at all. I don't know if it's too easy to predict. I mean, like you said, there's only 3 teams really that can win it, and honestly, are there really more than 2? I don't think the Sixers can win personally, but
I don't think so either. But
I think it's Celtics, Bucks, and how bad is Giannis hurt? I don't think he was hurt too bad, so I think they were being precautionary. I still like the Bucks, and I think.
How about John Morant? He seems to be hurt more seriously.
Yeah, he looks like, I was just looking him up before we came on the show. It looks like he's not going to play Game 2, and if they don't win Game 2, they're probably toast. I don't know. I still think the Grizzlies are going to win that series. I think the Lakers are a facade. They had a hot month. They're not good. And even if they get past this series, they're going to get beat. They're not going to win the West. You're wasting your money if you spend if you think plus 500 is a bargain on a team that's a 7 seed and was lucky to be that, then go ahead, waste your money.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I would bet the Nuggets, maybe the Clippers or the Kings to win the West. Yeah,
the Lakers would be the last team on that list I would bet, by the way. And I'm all about value, and I think there's negative EV on the Suns. And I would bet money on the Suns at plus 225 before I'd waste money on the Lakers at plus 500. They're not going to win the West.
Yeah, so that's just not. That's buying into the hype. The Grizzlies and Lakers, by the way, resume their series not until Wednesday, and that's a pick 'em right now. And I love the Grizzlies in that spot too, even if Morant doesn't.
Me too.
I think the Grizzlies bounce back and make a series out of that. So
I think they win it.
You're watching Bayou Bets here on bet.nola.com and the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Check us out. Hit that subscribe button. Sign up for notifications. Give us a like. We appreciate all of that. We're going to move on.
You're bagging again, Zach. You're bagging again.
Yes. It's called a plea. It's called a plea, okay? It's a plea. Let's move on to the NFL draft. Speaking of begging, they're begging you to bet on anybody but Bryce Young to be the number 1 pick.
Wow, I didn't realize that changed that much.
Yeah, he is now minus 1,000 at Caesars to be the number 1 pick.
Yeah,
he has
I should have bet at minus 300.
Yeah, so he's he is. I think you can call him the presumptive number 1 pick at this point.
I think he is the number 1. I mean, I said this a long time ago. I think I said this before the trade even happened. There was zero doubt that Bryce Young was going to be the first pick. I know that we give NFL GMs, and I'm going to give NFL GMs a tough time in just a minute. But any NFL GM that thinks Bryce Young is not the best quarterback coming out of this draft and is the only guy in this draft that, to me, is a potential 15-year kind of guy, then they're crazy. I mean, you're not going to take C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young unless you want to get fired, period.
Yeah, I never totally understood that smokescreen. I know Frank Reich, the new Panthers coach, is supposed to be in love with Stroud, but objectively speaking, Bryce Young is the safer pick.
By the way, Will Levis is plus 2,500. Can I bet the no? Like, I will go empty my mortgage. I'll go take every cent of equity in my house if I can go bet on the no that Will Levis will not be the first draft pick.
Just to make $100.
I mean, yeah. What is it going to be? Minus 4,000, minus 4,500. If the yes is plus 2,500. I mean,
maybe minus 10,000. Honestly, they'll juice that up on you.
Well, I don't have 100,000, but if I had 100,000, you do. If I had 100,000, I would have 100,000 to win 1,000. I would do it.
I just signed on for a new air conditioning system and a trip to Disney World and Universal this week, so
Yeah,
I don't have 100,000 anymore.
I have a new air conditioning system right above my head, or either that I was gonna have to keep working in the den, and the wife was probably gonna kick me out and make me work in the backyard. So
yeah, that 100,000 is spoken for.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, maybe we'll win some more. Where this draft gets interesting with the odds, by the way, is when we go past the number 1 pick. So number 2, you figure, okay, if Bryce Young goes number 1 to the Panthers, the Tex pick at number 2, they need a quarterback. So C.J. Stroud seems like the logical pick. But the odds will tell you that they may be leaning in different directions. There's a possibility of a trade here. I mean, Will Anderson's only plus 220. Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech linebacker, shooting up the board. It's interesting.
I don't know. I don't want to say who cares because I don't want people to stop listening to us because he said who cares. Let's don't read his stuff. I mean, it's all you said it last week. The NFL draft is complete speculation, and if anyone wants to tell you they know what's going to happen, they're lying. I mean, they're flat out lying. So, do the Texans take a quarterback, or do they trade the pick, or do they take Will Anderson? I mean, I kind of think they'd be better served to take Will Anderson. I think they could get a quarterback later, in my opinion. I think of course, they need a quarterback, but I think they have other needs, and I think they can build their team with a guy like Will Anderson, is my opinion. Tyree Wilson, sure, he's shooting up the draft boards. Good for him. So is Anthony Robinson. That's not happening either. Richards.
You gotta get his name. Get the man's
Hold
name.
on. Let me get a drink. You don't know what I put in that Fresca can, by the way.
Listen, I will say this. I think there's value on Stroud at this moment. I think this is one of the better values of the draft.
I don't disagree. I think that's whom they're going to take. I guess whom is the right way. Whom they're going to take there. But 160, I mean, that's...
Because either the Texans take him or someone trades up to take him. He's the second best player in the draft. There's a lot of quarterback needy teams.
Yeah.
I think he's the pick at number 2. I really do.
What about Will Levis?
What about him? What about here's number 3 pick, and this is where it gets really interesting, Jim. And like you said, the farther you go down, the less certain you can be about anything. But Anthony Richardson is the favorite to be the number 3 pick.
I kind of like Will Anderson in this spot, to be honest, because if the Cardinals don't trade their pick, they're not drafting a quarterback.
Yeah.
And the most obvious pick there is Will Anderson. So I don't think he goes before 3. And if the Cardinals can't, I mean, if you're the Colts, don't you dare them to? Do you really make the trade to go up one spot? Are you really afraid someone behind you is going to come up to take Anthony Richardson? So what if they do? I mean, you're in a good spot to me if you're the Colts. So I'd play chicken with the Cardinals, and I don't think they're going to make the trade. So I think Will Anderson at plus 275 is a good value.
Can I remind you that Anthony Richardson hit the ceiling sitting on his ass?
Oh man, we just talked about that. I need pictures.
I like maybe you got to take him number 1.
If I get a picture of the dude hitting the ass with his ceiling. Hitting the ceiling with his ass back or whatever. I told you there's something in Fresca can.
Jerry, you came on in the great
I'm betting. Yeah, you did. Talking about, never mind. Moving on. I don't want to get in trouble. I like my job.
I got to say the draft's a little weird. We sit around and talk about what guys can do with different bodies.
Well, we're going to talk about it a lot in about a week from Thursday.
Yeah, we're going to – our Bayou Bets next Thursday, which is the first round of the draft, April the 27th, will be a live draft show. So instead of going live at 4 o'clock, mark your calendars. It'll be live at 6 o'clock, and we're going to go through the entire first round of the draft.
We're going to be here a long time.
We're going to bicker at each other. We're going to call into Jeff Duncan, Luke Johnson, our Saints team.
Oh, they said we're going to call each other names.
Well, we will probably do that too. Out at Airline Drive, we may or may not ask them about Anthony Richardson.
I got you to do it.
Anthony Richardson. We will definitely talk to them about who the Saints are going to take at number 29, or if there's a trade in the works, those sorts of things. So tune in draft night, April 27th. We're going to have a special edition of Bayou Bets. Speaking of the Saints, Jim, again, we mentioned this up top. Defensive lineman continues to be their
Is it back on the board now?
This is not on the board at Caesars. This is but other odds in the market, and this is similar to what Caesars had. So minus 110, implies about a 50-50 chance they go D lineman here. I know you don't think they will.
These odds have dropped. It was minus 150 before. So I think that I don't know if the betting public has changed the odds or just the general perception. I mean, look, any Saints fan worth his snot is going to realize that this team needs something other than defensive linemen here. I'm sorry. Whether that's what they draft or not, I don't know, but they need offense way more than they need defense. Any defense. The number one need on this team clearly is running back. The number two need on this team is anything that's on offense other than quarterback. I mean, that's where we are right now. So if they draft a defensive lineman first, then I feel like this draft is going to be a failure, in my opinion.
Oh, that's
it's not. Put it this way: if they draft a defensive lineman first, there is zero chance they get anything better than a B- from me, no matter what they do the rest of the way.
Wow. I mean, what if
simple as that?
What if it's one of the top 5 players available?
If it's Will Anderson, if they get Will Anderson, then yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think you can make that blanket statement. I will say this.
Yeah, I can. I just did.
We talked about Bijan Robinson. His over-under on his draft number at Caesars is 15.5.
Yeah.
So he is most likely, certainly not going to be.
Yeah, he'll be gone.
And if that's the case, I don't see how you take a running back with this pick. Running back, by the way, 22-1 to be the Saints' first pick.
I don't think it will be. And like I said in my my post on Friday, I think they're not going to reach there. I think they're more likely to take a running back in the second round. But I still would take a wide receiver here. If you think Michael Thomas is clearly the number 2 and is going to make it through a season and you trust him, then good for you. You are a good person at heart. You believe everything you hear, read. You're an optimist all the way to the top. You believe the sun's going to shine for 24 hours tomorrow. Good for you. It's not going to happen. So, I mean, the Saints need wide receiver help too. And, you can't bank on Olave even being healthy the whole time. I mean, Shaheed, are we thinking he's going to have a great sophomore season? Maybe. But there is bigger question marks there there are along the defensive line. And to me, that's more important. And offensive line is more important as well.
I think you could make an argument certainly for a pass catcher, whether it be a receiver or a tight end or an offensive lineman. But I really don't think it's a disaster. I don't think it's a B- at best if you go D-line. They need D tackles, and they do. Yeah. So it just depends on who's available. But we want you to tell us what you think. Go to bet.nola.com and vote.
Don't do it this second, though, because it's not up yet.
Oh, well.
But it will be soon.
It'll be up soon. Go after the show. Wait till 5:30 or so, 5 o'clock. Check it out. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, receiver or tight end. Jim's going to throw in running back just because he wants to, and or something else. And if you don't include running back as other, I don't see how you could pick other. I mean, it's gonna be.
I guess you could say running back / other.
Yeah, or like I don't think they're taking a linebacker. That's certainly not one that doesn't count as an edge.
No, they're not taking a linebacker.
Yeah, they're not taking
safety.
A quarterback. They're not taking a defensive back.
No.
We say that, Jim. You know what's
or
interesting though? The Saints have for years and years and years been so unpredictable in the draft. They'd never take a safety, and then they take a safety. And what the hell? And they usually hit. Like these guys end up being good players.
You say usually hit. I mean, they perennially skip on players that they could draft that would help their team better. Sometimes they hit, but sometimes they also leave a guy out there that they should have drafted that would have been better served for their team and proves it later on. I'm just going to put it that way.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But my point was that last year, which was the first year after Sean Payton, they actually were fairly predictable, trading up to get Chris Olave, drafting
very unusual.
Penning. And Olave was obviously a hit. Penning, jury's out. He was hurt.
That's because the smokescreen guy was gone. Sean Payton likes to throw out little fires all over the place to not let anybody know who he's going to draft. So he wasn't there, and the Saints, I guess, didn't care on. They didn't do that as much, or maybe they weren't as good at it as Payton. But that's what that was about. That's
my question. I mean, do we think that we're into a new era of it is a little more predictable what the Saints will do?
Yeah. No, yeah, I think it's going to be. But I mean, still, that doesn't mean they're going to take a defensive lineman. I don't think anybody knows who they're going to take. I don't think they know. I honestly don't think they know.
Well, the hard part, the hard part is when you're picking at number 29, you don't even know who's going to be there. Like if Bijan Robinson is there, he's probably going to be the pick. Now he's probably not going to be there.
Yeah, if he's there, I mean, you don't even take, what is it, 10 minutes? I mean, the card will be up when the clock says 9:56.
And so when you say the Saints don't even know who they'll pick, that's quite literally true because they don't know who's available. They have a board. They have players they like, but a lot of those top players that they like will be gone at number 29.
Yeah.
If Bijan Robinson is still there at 24, do they trade up to get him? I don't know. That's possible.
We'll see. I think they do.
It depends on how much they like the guy or who else is still on the board. But
don't be surprised if they make trades, and don't be surprised actually, even though they traded to get up into the first round, it wouldn't be the shocker of shockers if they traded back down and got out of the first round either. I know that would be a bummer for Saints fans, but the Saints have been known to make lots of trades on draft day throughout the years. So it wouldn't be a surprise at all if they traded back out of the first round.
No,
although the fact they traded in means there's something they want.
Yeah, I mean, if you can pick up a first rounder next year plus another second rounder this year, maybe long term that's a better play. I will say, I think and we'll talk about this more over the next couple of weeks. I think the Saints are still very, very much in win now mode, and so it would surprise me to see them trade for too many future picks. Like I think they want guys.
Yeah, I agree. I think, but again, it's a crapshoot. I don't think any of us know, so we'll find out soon enough.
Certainly. And speaking of Thursdays, this Thursday, the Zurich Classic of New Orleans is the PGA Tour stop. And if you didn't know, it's a team event. I'm not really keen on the team event. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I really, if this was a stroke play event, even if it was not an elevated event and it didn't draw a really big crowd, I'd be more likely to buy tickets and go, I think. Let's say of these names down here, let's say even half of them were in the event. I'd go watch Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, Sung J M, and Tom Kim lead a field. Like even if you don't have a Scheffler
odds from?
These odds, I believe, are from DraftKings.
They're a lot different at MGM.
Yeah. The other thing is with the team event, you're only talking, 66 teams, 70 teams, and so
like Burns and what's his name? Billy Horschel are not even on this top four.
They are 18 to 1. They're the next.
Okay, they were 11 to 1 at MGM. They were number 3. So.
Again, I don't like Burns and Horschel. That's not where I would go. I kind of like Kim and Kim. That's Tom Kim and Siwoo Kim. I think that's
Kim squared. Just call him Kim squared.
Yeah, Kim squared.
Or kimchi. Yeah, ever had kimchi?
I have.
That's gimchi actually, but I'm
I'll give you another one at 22 to 1. How about Kurt Kitayama and Taylor Montgomery?
I just don't. I mean, every time anybody picks a favorite in golf, not every time, but way more likely than not, you think the favorite's going to win, and they don't. And I mean, all I heard yesterday was that they were promoing the Zurich Classic yesterday. I mean, Schauffele and Cantlay? Who's going to be able to beat these guys? Well, you give me the field. I'll take the field.
Oh, and
come on.
Honestly, at the numbers, I would rather have Morikawa and Homa at 850 than Schauffele and Cantlay.
I mean, who knows? It's a team event. Anything can happen. The reason why, Burns is going to be getting the LSU chance. So, you got a Gator and a Tiger together. Sounds like a bad joke, but we'll see what happens. I think that's who I like.
Burns and Horschel. I just don't. They've been here a lot before and not done great. I just don't see why that would change now. Schauffele.
Well, I'm gonna go through some things. Tomorrow's the day that I really spend looking at golf. So,
Schauffele and Cantlay are the defending champions and clear favorites here. But I think Homa and
right, which is why you can't bet them.
Price, is not bad at all.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Speaking of things that are bad, I'm going to get into my rant here. And the Pelican season just ended, and the only good thing about that is that we don't have to use the frickin' Bally Sports app anymore. And those of you who had to use it, know what I'm talking about. The Bally Sports app, number one, was expensive. I know you don't really find
Oh,
it too
come
expensive.
on. It wasn't
$15
expensive.
a month just to watch the Pelicans.
Or
a couple
$60
times
for
a
the
week.
whole year or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's pretty steep. Okay, but again, if you're a fan and you don't have Cox cable, you're going to do it because you want to watch the team. It's not prohibitively expensive. Okay, can deal
Or
with the price.
DirecTV.
For the price, give me a good app. The Bally Sports app, number one, was look. All streaming services are like 30 to 45 seconds behind live. Bally Sports was like 2 minutes behind. Super slow. Audio never matched the video. Never. And if it did, you had to fast forward to get there, and then it would buffer even more. The audio was choppy. The video was choppy. It buffered. It was just a terrible viewing experience. And Bally Sports has gone bankrupt. This is part of a larger problem with all of these teams putting their eggs in the regional sports network basket. We see it in the NBA. You see it in Major League Baseball as well. And we're going to see a reckoning in sports, in professional sports. Where do these dollars come from now with regional sports networks like Bally's going bankrupt? They're paying too much for the rights, and that's what's keeping a lot of these smaller market teams afloat. So I'm bagging on Bally Sports. The thing about it is, though, whatever is replacing it probably means less money for Gail Benson and the Pelicans, and that's something that the Pelicans are going to have to figure out. So this is a sports business story. We're going to probably have a show on this during the summer about how this affects things going forward because it's a complicated topic. But for right now, I'm going to say Bally Sports, good riddance.
Okay, well, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I thought it was average at best. I don't think it was as bad as you thought it was. I know you complained a lot about it, especially last month of the year. I personally didn't think it was expensive. I didn't think I was going to like. Well, I mean, I have YouTube TV, so I have a problem with them. Now we don't have MLB Network either, so I mean, they couldn't get it together, and so I did have to buy Bally's. I actually split it with my son, and we split the cost. But I didn't think it was that expensive. But I don't know. I didn't think it was a great app. But
if you split the cost, that sounds like a great deal.
Well, we talked. No, I mean, even if I had to pay full price, I would have. I mean, and I wouldn't have bitched about it either. I thought it was fine. But one thing that Robert Young talked about in our pre-production is they have a lot of issues, obviously, because you go look and they're still asking you to sign up to watch Pelicans games on the app. They obviously have problems. So I don't care one way or the other. Whatever they give me next year, I'm probably gonna have to buy that on the side too, because if it's not on YouTube TV, I'm not gonna switch my service to go get it. And I'm happy with YouTube TV, which is a whole different show.
That kind of reminds me, I'm gonna have to. I got to go cancel my Bally Sports. I think it renewed on like April the 7th.
Yeah, well, I'm just glad I can watch the Breakers on YouTube TV, and in 4K, by the way.
And that in the business is what we call a segue to Jim's rant about the New Orleans, except we don't play in New Orleans Breakers, Jim.
Yeah, to steal a line for Bob Uecker, if you haven't noticed, the New Orleans Breakers are back, and judging by the attendance, you haven't. It's good stuff. I mean, I enjoyed it. I got to say, look, I don't know if whoever didn't watch the game last night, the Breakers won 22-15. Now, I know most of you were probably watching the NBA and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it is still football nonetheless, and, people can make fun of the USFL and the XFL all they want. But it's been enjoyable so far. The XFL, I think, has been. And the USFL, I think, can be just as enjoyable. They have a lot of the same. It surprised me that they had a lot of the same players that they had last year come back. And they also had players that made it to the NFL. I can't remember how many they said, but it was quite a few, including Cavante Turpin, who was an all-pro returner for the Dallas Cowboys last year. He came from the USFL last year. So these guys have a decent amount of talent. There's a new coach, John DeFilippo, who I hoping to get on Datitude pretty soon. And, yeah, I get that they're playing in Birmingham and it's hard to follow them. They are working toward that. They are working. They're doing it the right way. To me, unlike the XFL, who is probably putting a little bit too much money of their own money into these things, I think it's going to end up biting them. I think the XFL is actually the one that goes by the wayside first. I think the USFL is in it for the long haul because they're doing it right. They have expanded from just playing all the games in Birmingham. Now New Orleans and Birmingham are located in Birmingham, and two teams at each site. I think Canton is one. I think Houston is another. and I can't remember the fourth location, but there are 4 different locations that they're going to play and hopefully be able to expand to home teams next year. But I think it's worth watching. If you watch the Breakers defense, they had an excellent defense. They had great special teams. They had a block punt last night. Pittsburgh ended up having a punt return for a touchdown. It's good football. It's good football. It's not the same as the NFL, but I think there are a lot of things that the NFL are going to take from both the XFL and USFL that will make football better in the long run. So give it a shot. Breakers play this week. I think they play Saturday, but I need to check that. I know it's on NBC.
Huh. Ah.
That's how I feel about soccer.
We were talking about spring football. Oh, listen.
That's how I feel about soccer.
Major League Baseball, NBA playoffs, golf majors, horse racing, the end of the soccer season. Yes, there's so many things in the spring. We don't need spring football. We've got the NFL draft. We can talk about the football we want. We don't need spring football. Give it a rest. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
I enjoy it.
Doing this to ourselves? I know, but you're a sicko. You're a sicko when it comes to football. By the way, I want to correct something I said. The Bally Sports app was $20 a month, not $15. $20 a month to watch the Pelicans. So yeah, Jim likes the Breakers. If you want to bet USFL, I guess he's your guy because he's the only one watching. So.
Well, I didn't do daily best bets, but I did like the Breakers -5 last night, and they came through. And I liked the under as well, and both hit. I should have gave it out to the customers, to the people, but I did not. So.
All right, real quick, tonight's games. What's your favorite bet?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you can touch a 10-point spread to me. I like the Kings, and I know people won't. I don't know. The money line, I guess, is somewhere around even. I think the Kings win again. We talked about how the Warriors just have been bad on the road. And John Q. Public and Aunt Mabel are going to be all over the Warriors. They're only 2-point favorites, and they lost game 1. There's no way they're going to lose game 2. Okay, well, go ahead and bet it if you want. But I'm going to bet against the Public almost every time, and certainly in this case, I think Sacramento wins again tonight, and I think Sacramento wins the series.
Social media hit from Caesars just came across, by the way. A Caesars bettor put $10,000 on the Warriors. Get this. On the Warriors is a bettor in New York. Alternate line, Warriors plus 21.5 at -5,000 to win $199.
That's insanely stupid. Why would you do that? If you have, here's my question. If you have, well, how much did he bet? 50,000, you said?
50,000.
Okay. I've seen these kind of bets before. Why, if you have $50,000, what in the hell is $200 going to do for you? Why would you risk $50,000 to win $200? I wouldn't risk $50,000 to win $200 that the sun's going to come up in the morning.
You know what one of my favorite movies is? Office Space. You know what one of the best scenes is when they look up the definition of money laundering? I don't know why that just popped into my head. I don't know why that just popped into my head. But
I guess you could call it that, but we saw one, and I can't remember. What was it, Zach, that someone bet something like that and lost earlier this year? They bet like $100,000 to win like 100. I'm not exaggerating.
It happened.
And they lost.
Look, the reason
it was earlier this year.
Because -5,000 is not a fair price for that, and that's nothing against our partners and Caesars. Any book does that. It's not. The Warriors could lose this game by 22 points.
Well, anyone could. Think about it. If you say you're losing by 18 at halftime, which is probably, it's not likely, but it's possible. Then you go in the second half and it's like meandering around 23-24, and you pull your starters in the fourth quarter. I mean, and no one plays in the fourth quarter, and it just goes. I mean, it's easily could be. You're not winning any money. If you have $50,000, $200 is nothing.
-5,000 is an implied probability of 98.1%. I just
don't know why anyone would do it.
Like you're saying that there's only there's a less than 2% chance they lose that game by 22. This is the NBA. And again, I'll remind you, the Warriors were 11-30 on the road this year. They can get blown
I'd much rather bet the Kings alternate line of -21.5, whatever it is, and put $10 on that.
3,500 or whatever it is.
Exactly.
I actually am. I like the Clippers plus 7.5 tomorrow night as probably my favorite bet this week. I think the Clippers are going to at least keep that game close again. I don't think the Suns are not. Again, they're not cohesive enough right now to go blow a good team out. I just don't think they are.
I don't disagree.
But if I had to pick one tonight, I'm actually taking Nets plus 10. It just feels like the Sixers will win the game.
I don't
most
disagree
likely.
with that.
But that's a little bit of a letdown spot for them. They blew them out in game one.
Yeah.
The Nets obviously are a shell of what they were when they had Durant and Kyrie. There's just a letdown spot for Philly, and they might sleepwalk a little bit and win this game by 6 points. So I think if I had to pick one tonight, it would be Nets West.
Well, the last thing I'll say on the NBA is go out and put some money on the Kings to win the West because they're a great value, and I think it's absolutely possible. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there really isn't, besides the Timberwolves, I don't think there's a team that could shock me if they won the West. I mean, I guess I'd kind of be pretty darn surprised if the Lakers won the West, but really, any of the top 6, in my opinion, could win it.
No, I
It's
agree.
not likely
I mean,
that the Clippers will win.
And by the way,
they
the
could.
Lakers could win it. I'm just not going to bet it in my 5-1.
I don't think they're going to win it.
I don't think
you're right. They could.
The point is, I'm watching all these Western. I'm going to be staying up late. I'm already tired. I went to the Gulf Shores this weekend for my son's soccer team. I'm already exhausted. But I'm going to be staying up late because the Western Conference first round games are much more intriguing to me than the East. The East, maybe if the Heat can win another game, that one gets interesting to see if the Bucks bow out. But other than that, Cavs, Knicks, I don't really care because neither one of them is going to go deep into this anyway.
You're exhausted because you had to watch soccer all weekend.
No, that's just not nice. That's not nice.
I mean, I appreciate it with your son, but you had to watch soccer.
My son, he's got baseball this week too, so we'll.
Then that'll be worth watching.
We'll get it going with something Jim likes.
All right,
but,
we'll
I'm
find
staying
some
up
more to
watch the
talk
West,
about.
I agree. There's 7 teams in the West that could come out, and every series is super intriguing. So
we'll get your rest before a week from Thursday. That's when you got to get your rest.
More draft talk for us Thursday, and as we said, the live draft show next Thursday during the draft, starting at 6:00 Central Time, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. And we're gonna have a lot of fun this Thursday too. We'll talk more NBA playoffs, much more NFL draft, mix in some baseball and golf as well, and we will hopefully see you there. Subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel, get notifications, and we'll see you next time. For Jim Derry, I'm Zach Ewing. This has been Bayou Bets.